this much.
Welcome back to the Wildlands Garden, and in tonight's episode we're looking at our banana circle for the final part of last year's banana growing. So this rather strange looking structure behind me has within it contained several different types of bananas and other tender plants such as cannas and giant taros or elephant ears. So we briefly look back at the beginnings of the banana circle. We started creating it last March of 2023 and we go through to the end of the summer of 2023 when we then cover up the tender plants and bananas. So in tonight's episode we're going to look back and I'm going to show you how we build this structure and protect your tender plants through frosts and snows in countries with cold winters. So enjoy tonight's episode. Hello and welcome back to the Wildlands, to this huge banana circle that I planted out last March. And for those of you living in cool or cold countries, in today's video I'm going to show you how you can grow bananas all year round and get them to fruit and provide you with bananas that you can eat, even if you are in a country such as we are in Portugal, where last year we had -7 degrees centigrade in the winter. So enjoy tonight's video and I will show you how you can be growing your own bananas. So some of you by now will know about my infamous banana circle because it's one of my pride and joys here on the Wildlands. And those of you that are new to the channel or specifically watching this video to find out about bananas, let me take you back to the beginning of the year when we created the banana circle. So the basic premise of a banana circle is you dig a hole, concave bowl shaped hole in the middle, which is round and about 1 metre wide up to 2 metres would be the maximum sort of size, and then the earth that you take out from the hole you put round the outside, making a kind of giant donut. And then the hole that you've created is then about 3 feet deep from the bottom of the hole to the top of the berms at the side or the ridges. And then you fill this hole, which is also like this shape, you fill it as if you were making a compost heap. So you would put logs and so on at the bottom, and then smaller twigs and straw and rotting material and garden waste and kitchen waste, exactly as if you were creating a compost heap. And then that starts rotting down and creates nutrients in the circle. And then on the berm around the outside, the big circle that's mounted up, you plant your bananas, hence it being called a banana circle. Look at this lovely stuff. See from when we planted the bananas here just how much they've grown in 6 months. Unbelievably fast growing. So bananas usually take around 15 months to flower and create fruit. So that means that the bananas on the back of the circle, which are Musa Cavendish, which are a dwarf variety, and although they call them a dwarf variety, they will grow to about 2 to 3 meters, so still around 10 foot or a bit less, so still very big plants. They are the bananas that grow the traditional bananas that you would buy in the supermarket, and they're the bananas I'm trying to grow. These giant red Musas will also fruit with smaller red bananas which are also edible. So my goal is to get the Musa Cavendish at the back of the circle to provide me bananas from June of next year, which will be around the 15-month period from when I planted them, and then they take 2 or 3 months to ripen. So that's my objective. So we will come back again and see if I've achieved my banana eating objective, but for now I'm going to show you how you can protect any tropical plant really in a cold climate, but specifically my lovely bananas. So we've got a number of gilded plants planted in the banana circle. So let's first start with the bananas and show you those. So at the front on my left and my right I have a dwarf Chinese banana. So these are dwarfs as the name implies, and they don't get much bigger than they are, but they do bush out. The one on my right here has had a couple of babies, so I'm going to chop them out and propagate them. And then behind them, these, although although they have banana-like leaves, these are cannas. And what's amazing about these is I've been chopping them and putting them in the compost for the whole of the summer, and they just keep coming. And they started as one bulb either side. So we want to lift some of these bulbs because Missy wants to use them as a beautiful but shade-creating hedge in the new market garden. So I'm going to chop these down and put all the growth that I chop off into the compost, and then I'm going to lift some of the bulbs and put them into pots, and then we can grow them, propagate them and plant them out in the market garden later in the year. And then further round at the back I've got three, or I should say I started with 3 dwarf Cavendish bananas, and they've all had babies. Some I've lifted and put into pots, but I've kept 2 or 3 next to each one, as those 2 or 3 babies will become the flowering and fruiting bananas the year after next year. So you then have a constant supply of bananas every summer. And we've also got alocasia, which are the giant leaves at the top of the image, and below that you can see we have some gingers planted. So I'm going to start by cutting down this canna with the red flowers. So arguably this could stay in the ground or stay up another month or even 2, to be honest, but we're not quite sure when we're going to get frost. According to the weather forecast, it doesn't drop much below 6 degrees until the beginning of December. However, on our thermometer in the greenhouse we did have 0.5 degrees on Tuesday a few days ago, so it does show that we do get much colder temperatures here in the valley compared to out of the valley and in the villages locally where the weather forecasts are from. But I think as we're going to get some good weather coming up and we want to get the cabin finished, I'm going to chop these down now, because I'd rather be ready than have to be reactive when the frost suddenly hits us when we're not expecting it. So my first chore was to dig up the cannas from the left and the right side, and amazing to think that that massive amount of canna here came from one pot that I bought from the market at the end of last summer, and then I split the pot into 4 or 5 other pots. So I planted 2 bulbs either side here, and I must have at least 50 bulbs up at the top, and some of those I've made smaller and I've potted up into pots. and I'm not going to water those, basically putting them in pots to dry out over the winter, start watering them very early spring or late winter to bring them back to life, ready to plant them out next spring. And I've left a fairly reasonable sized clump here, so hopefully this will fill back out. The other thing that's very good about this particular unknown canna is its biomass is obviously extremely useful. So of the 50 or so that we've taken out, bearing in mind that if there were 2 either side here, how much they grew, we're going to use them for hedging next year in the new market garden down there. But also the biomass for composting is absolutely fabulous, so it's a win-win. It's a fabulous plant. You can eat the bulbs, you can use the leaves. It's beautiful, it flowers, the leaves are stunning to look at in the garden, it provides shade, grows very, very fast, gives you biomass for your compost. It's a superb plant and very recommended. So now that I've got these dug out and prepared to be saved for the winter, I'm now going to go on to the other cannas at the back here. We've got Canna Durban, which has done reasonably well, didn't get very big. This is the orange stripy leaf, very beautiful leaves. Let me show you one of those because it is stunning. What beautiful leaves, eh? And that's the Canna Durban, which is a rare canna, which I started off from bulbs. I've got a lot of spare bulbs, so I'm going to trim those back. And there's also some Canna indicas at the back, which I'm also going to trim down. So generally speaking with cannas, you would wait until your first frost, if indeed you get frosts, to brown the leaves, and then you'd cut them down to the ground, mulch them to protect them for the rest of the frosty winter period. Here I'm a bit early because I want to wrap my bananas before a frost, so I'm going to trim down my cannas to within a couple of inches from the bottom, and then they'll form part of the circle, and hopefully by protecting them with the bananas, they'll come back full force next spring.
Time to harvest the lemongrass. All of the leaves I'm going to cut down. I'm going to dry them in little bundles and then store them for making tea with. And then the stalks I'm going to have to chop apart and separate, and then I'm going to keep those in the freezer. They'll keep for up to 6 months, and then I can chop them up like you would a ginger rhizome for use in cooking, or you can just bash the stem and chuck it straight in, and it's great for use in Thai cooking in particular. I'm absolutely chuffed to have so much of this stuff. It's grown like crazy, particularly like being part of Dom's banana circle. So yeah, I'm really pleased with that harvest. What a lot of lemongrass. I thought I'd just show you how I've gotten on with my processing of the lemongrass you saw me pick a minute ago. I'm absolutely gobsmacked to have this much. All these big fat lemongrass stems that are going to be used in cooking. I mean, that's enough to keep me going for about 5 years, and I've got more plants in the garden, so I'm really chuffed with that. And they were surprisingly easy to process actually. All you had to do is pull this away from the bunch of roots, snip off the bottom with a knife, and then pull off a few of the outsidey bits. And you're left with all this kind of ends and tops and tails and stuff. That's all going to go in the compost, so that won't be wasted either. And then the next job is to process the leaves, of which I have hundreds and thousands. And for that, we're just going to grab a few like this. And you just wind them up, tie them in a little knot, and then I'm going to lay them out to dry. I might try putting some in my dehydrator. And when it's dried like that in a bundle, you put them in a jar, and then you just drop the whole thing in your cup when you want to make a cup of tea. That should keep me going working for another 4 or 5 hours, I think. I'm really pleased with that, and it smells absolutely phenomenal. And what's interesting is there's a lot of flies out at the moment because of the weather, and yet when I've been processing the lemongrass, I haven't been bothered hardly at all, just the odd one. So I think it's the smell of the lemongrass that's keeping them away.
next job is I'm just going to chop these leaves off. Only really interested in saving what's called the pseudo stem, because this isn't actually a trunk or a stem, it's actually a collection of all the leaves, stems that then come out the middle, and each time it sends out a new set of leaves. They're 2 or 3 inches up, and eventually this will be 2 or 3 meters high. So all I want to protect over the winter is this main trunk, so that in the spring, from about April here, the new leaves will be able to come out from this height, meaning that I've saved about a metre of trunk, and that should help me get bananas in the summer. Always feels kind of brutal chopping it down, but we're doing it a favour. And then the big leaves I'm saving, and I'm going to use them on the floor, which I'll show you in a bit. There we go, so that's ready to be wrapped. So brutally now cut down, save the pseudo stem, and I'm wrapping them. So the objective is that we're expecting possibly from tomorrow the beginning of early frosts. So all of these bananas are not frost hardy, so they might withstand a brief bit of cold, but as soon as it gets to freezing, that'll damage them, and then they won't be this high. So we're going to wrap them in straw and then fleece around the outside, and then a capping on top at the end of some kind of plastic, probably an old compost bag, with a view that we keep the frost off the trunk. And then in April we'll unwrap it all, and hopefully we've saved the trunk, and the new leaves will start coming at the top, and it will gain its extra height. So you'll see here these are Musa Cavendish, which are different to the Musa Ensante or the Abyssinial reds. So these are our eating bananas. So again, these are a bit shorter, so this one hasn't grown as much as the red, so we're only going to protect it to that height. So this is the new leaf on one of the babies, so I'm going to cut that off. That's a new leaf on the top of the pseudo stem, which is here. So yeah, so a bit lower than the reds, and then we'll cap those off as well. Done now. So we've got the fleece round, we packed it with straw, we put our little cappings on top, which are just old compost bags that we stapled on and gaffered on just to keep a bit of the rain off. So if you go back to when we made the banana circle, you remember that we made multiple layers of compost in the middle to give it nutrients, as the bananas are extremely hungry, and also it provides warmth for the roots. We're going to do that again, so we're going to put a bucket load of tissue, paper waste and kitchen scraps down. We're going to put manure, which is fresh manure, on top of that. We're going to cover it all in banana leaves to keep the weeds out, and then put straw on the top of that, and that's going to keep it warm for the winter. So there we go, a little over 8 months ago we started the banana circle, we planted the banana circle, and now we're getting it ready for winter. So we're all done. So we've now lined the bottom on top of the manure with banana leaves and straw, and the last thing to do is we're just going to drape some fleece over the top, just to keep it held down really, and then we'll come back in April of next year, take it all off and see how we've protected our bananas, and if we can get bananas to fruit in central Portugal. So we're now back in late March of 2024. I hope you enjoyed the episode tonight where I showed you how we wrapped our bananas. And now you can see what this strange structure actually is and how it was constructed to protect our bananas and tender plants through the winter. And what's quite interesting is the red banana, which is here, remember from the circle earlier in the video, has actually burst through its protective cover. I'm going to take you inside and show you how bananas are looking. So we'll be unwrapping this circle in April, possibly even May, depending on what the weather forecast is for when the last frost may be. We haven't actually had a frost in the last month or so, but last year we did have them in April, so I'm always a little bit paranoid, or perhaps cautious, because I don't want my bananas to suffer having had them safely wrapped up all winter. So let's now have a look inside at the one that's bursting through the top. well you can see that with the sun reflecting off the black shade netting. Red banana has burst through here. You can see where I chopped it off. Got some cannas that have come up and are actually growing quite well. And that's a canna edulis that we saw earlier, the ones that I chopped down. So it's looking encouraging, and I'll bring you back here in a month to 2 months. I'll unwrap the bananas and my tender tropicals, and we'll see how successful our overwintering was in the Wildlands Garden. So as always, thanks very much for watching, and if you want to stay in touch with our updates on the banana circle, our food forest, our new market garden, and to have a look at how our seeds are doing and our new nursery project, then don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you very soon from the Wildlands Garden. Thanks for watching. Ciao.